Okay, I think we're going live.
Wow.
Well, welcome everybody. Alexa, you there?
Yeah. I'm here.
You there? Awesome. Fantastic. Wow, we know how to pick them.
Don't we?
Yeah. What was it last we originally scheduled this live stream last Friday,
Yep.
and that was the day the president got COVID or
Yeah.
went to the hospital. And
Right?
now today is the landfall of a hurricane,
Ugh,
and it's like, oh gosh, like can't really pick good days, can we?
I guess not.
Fridays have just not been our thing apparently.
No.
Anyway, so I apologize to everybody for not getting the live stream going last week. We had some things going on with a client that Friday morning, and it made more sense for us to cancel and reschedule to this week. And that's kind of put back our some plans that we had with planning some of the topics and live streams. So this time we're gonna try to do two in one. We weren't planning on doing this in this live stream, but we wanted to talk about the Fishbowl 2020.10 release, the release that comes out this month, or that has gone out this month, and then we're gonna get into our lesson for a little bit. But before we get into that, Alexa, how you been? How's
Good.
the lesson last time, and have you, you know, learned anything new, and maybe want me to think about what you've seen with some of our other customers and things like that. Just
Yeah. I mean, things have been good. I after our last lesson, it kind of just makes you go like, "Oh, I want more," right?
sure.
Every time it's just, give me more. So, I being my typical self, went and I have this other like platform where I can learn a little bit of SQL. So I did some practicing on my own.
Sure.
And it was kind of cool. It takes other data sets. One of them has like soccer teams in Europe, and you go and compare things. And, but it's very basic and it walks you through it. There's not too much that's like they're holding your hand almost the entire time, and if you don't get the answer right, it won't let you keep going. So
Oh, okay.
it's one of those where like you write the whole query, right? So you start with your select and your from and where, and like you kind of work through it, and then it says, okay, great, now we're going to act like we're doing the other way, right? So one of them was, okay, how many times does the Manchester team win a year or something like that?
Sure.
And so
Sure.
it very much guides you through the whole process. But it just kind of was one of those where I went like, oh yes, okay, I need to go do more. And so
Right.
yeah, I go and spend, a couple hours each week,
Oh, really?
going through, and it's just, but it's simple. It's a lot like what you taught me in 1 hour is like what they teach over many days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a lot of like practice of the same things, and so but this has been really helpful because using Fishbowl and interacting with
Right.
Fishbowl,
Right.
you get to take it a little bit different. um so yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to. And then, as of course, talking with clients, it gets some ideas going, and you're like, whoa, okay, yeah, that's a good one. I never thought of, how would we make that report, right? And it makes you think of
Exactly.
reports differently because you think of them like, well, I need to make it flat essentially first before I
Mhm.
can make it look really pretty like you want it to
Mhm.
look.
Yeah, I think people kind of they like the world is 3D, right?
Oh yeah.
But databases are inherently 2D.
Yeah,
Yeah, columns and rows. That's it,
exactly.
right?
Yep.
And people forget that quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it's our job to think about the floor, the walls, the ceiling.
Mhm.
You know, to kind of like, okay, well, it's never going to be like that result
Mhm.
unless you're literally looking for something like sales by country and then dollar amount. You know,
Right.
that's
Right.
very 2D, right?
Yeah.
But when you start thinking about sales by country and province or income group or product line, and it's like that's inherently 2D, right?
Mhm.
But you've got to make that work a certain way.
Yep.
Um, and that's a good point regarding how your comment about how I never thought of it that way. That's honestly always been my revelation with customers is that the customer knows their business a lot better than we do, right?
Oh yeah.
We just have the leg up in having experience on the Fishbowl platform or the database platform where we know what they're talking about and we can go straight to um, to the scene of the crime, so to speak, and
Right.
we'll know like, okay, well, here's where the bullet comes through, and here's where the someone stepped on glass, and here's where the scuffle was. Like
Yeah.
to anybody
Dust off the fingerprints.
exactly, dust off the fingerprints. To anybody else, it's like, wow, the scene's a mess. I don't know how to break this down, you
Right.
know.
Yep.
But because we know the database structure, we know how people typically use Fishbowl. I mean, people always use Fishbowl in different ways.
Mhm.
Um, it's just a lot easier for someone like us to just. I mean, I think you did. I think we had this experience last week where I was just writing SQL on the fly in a meeting,
Yeah.
and it was. I wish I was able to capture that moment because obviously this is a client thing, but this is my story for the session here. Um, the gentleman's famous. I wouldn't say famously, but just he does. There's not a lot of smiling going on,
Yeah.
and it was just kind of fun to see him just smile at the end of the meeting because now we're doing a lot of these Zoom calls with video. It's like,
Right.
wow, I'm really glad that we got this done because now I can actually get a result at the end of the meeting.
Yep.
When a lot of companies are used to not getting that. And to be
Oh yeah.
fair, it just worked out that we had information ahead of time with what they're looking to do, and we just had the experience and be able to, just key out a query based on what they were doing there.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, actually in that opportunity, it was almost kind of it was also it was basically a query to determine how to do forecasting of inventory levels and things like that. And sometimes when we're dealing with that sort of thing, it's better for us to just write the query and show them what a linear report can do. But that's where I think you and I were thinking about it. Like we need to show them how the other more advanced teams can do forecasting based on dates and you know uh,
Mhm.
instead of just
Like
this
how can
very
you take
linear,
it to the
yeah,
next level? Yeah.
taking it to the next level exactly, rather than just
Right.
here's a linear static report.
Right.
Here's a piece of software that actually gives you the what if scenario
Yeah, here's your
analysis.
information. Now you have to take it and make a decision with it.
Right, exactly,
How do you make that decision?
exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's get into our little mini agenda. We're a very technical show here, but sometimes don't need a whole lot of tech. So let me switch my live stream to the computer here. A little bit of housekeeping. We finally got a new uh, test server,
Yes.
and this one's hosted in Los Angeles, and more memory, more disk space, and closer to where I live, so the performance is a bit better. But one of the things is that had some like on-screen gaps where we had my old house address on the map and
Whoops.
things like that. So now we have a purely just for testing server for us, and we'll be able to continue doing this with the live stream. So I'm pretty happy about that. Anyway, so in setting the server up today, we noticed that the Fishbowl 2020.10, right? So we'll be talking about that a little bit.
Yep.
We're going to do a quick SQL recap on the SQL structure that I talked about last week. Ask Alexa questions, make sure she's getting office hours with me, and then we kind of go through more of our today's lesson. The where clauses, aggregate functions, group by, having, that sort of thing. And then we'll be using most of that in a example report where one of our customers recently we've built this query before, but essentially the question is, you know, what is the minimum build quantity of a particular bomb, right? What
Hmm.
is the what how many can I make,
Right.
you know? And typically there's one kind of constraint in your bill of material structure that prevents you from building any more,
Hmm.
right? So we'll be looking at that, see how we can make that work with our Becky's Cookies database, and then yeah, and I think that's the live stream. We're not gonna try to keep everybody on too long today. It's already 4 4 4:14 p.m. in our for our friends on the East Coast.
Yep.
here in the West Coast, we've got the rest of our day to continue. But
Yeah.
let's get into it. So, Fishbowl 2010. I've got the release notes here, right? And the last set of releases I hadn't reviewed. So if you're not too familiar with the last set of releases, go check them. We've been having a lot of customers upgrade to past Fishbowl 2020.5. So this is your another PSA. If you have reports or you have custom applications using custom fields in before 2020.5, you want to make sure you work with your vendor. Sometimes it's us on making sure those reports and applications and plugins are compatible for 2020.5. And we've been noticing is we told everybody back in May, but now it's October, 5 months later, and they're still noticing that
Oh yeah.
no one's checked with us first on when those things have happened. But
Right.
that's a little PSA for everybody. Anyway, so in terms of 2020.10, they're adding more, you know, manufacturing capability, which I think is great. Um, One of the things that I thought was pretty interesting that I'll probably talk about a little bit here is this making changes to bill of materials now prompts to update open orders as well,
Oh.
right? And I thought that was really cool because honestly, that is a big problem with a lot of companies because they're thinking, and we'll probably demo that here. I
Yeah.
haven't actually tried it, but I'm going to demo it now. Um, they're in the situation where they sold the product, they can sell the features of the product, but they don't exactly know how to build it
Right.
necessarily,
Mhm.
and they may have a uh, revision A bomb inside a
Right.
fishbowl, but and maybe the nature of the sales is such that it takes time for them to sell the product. So by the time it sells, they've gone through B, C, D, E, and F, right?
Mhm.
And um, to before 2020.10, what you'd have to do is every time you had these previous sales that are maybe built to order or have some other previous conditions to them, you would have to kind of figure out what's the difference between the current bomb and the current work order,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So that was a pain. So I'd like to see how this functionality works. So that's of all of them there, I really want to see them there. I thought this was pretty cool. The other thing here is that the manufacturer order number can be set to the sales order number that created it. A lot of job shops are like this.
Yes.
A lot
I
of job
have.
shops. They never understood why the manufacturer order number should be different. And
Right.
I kind of explained why, but they're like, I don't get it, because you could have things that are not tied to a sales order number,
Right.
like building for stock, right?
Mhm.
But this helps at least alleviate all the communication confusion that might happen. I know of two customers that would really like to switch to doing that, but they've got to change. They're already used to not having it, so
Yeah.
it's a big change for them. Um, and the bomb changes. So we're gonna demo that, see how that works, and then we'll move on to the actual SQL lesson. Just a little bit of
Exciting.
Fishbowl 2010 review.
Sure.
Let's get into it. So they said in the notes that if you got a bill of material, you'll have to change it. So I'm gonna pick one. Let me see here. Sugar cookie dough. No, I don't want that. I want something. Yeah, here we go. The batch,
I
right?
like that one.
I like this one. This one's got a lot more going on.
Yes.
So I've got options, I've got option groups, etc., etc. So this might be a I don't know what they thought about doing this, but let's go make a bomb. So we're gonna say make a work order, manufacture order. So we're gonna make a new one. 40 batches of the snickerdoodle batch. Okay, then I'm gonna issue it. So now that says I've got an issued manufacturer order for the batch, right? And I've
Mhm.
got my configuration details here,
Right.
right? Now I wonder if I change the structure to say maybe I need less or more flour. So wonder how that happens. So if I go in here and I say I need actually 1.25 pounds of flour, doesn't say anything. Interesting. Is there a
Okay.
module option here?
Search bomb. Nope.
Nope. Let's go to the wiki. So I wonder if it's just because I need to add I wonder if I add another line to it. A B201. I save it. It doesn't prompt. I wonder why that is. Okay,
Interesting.
let's do the fudge batch because that looks a bit similar, a bit easier. So we'll unissue, and we'll delete that one. And am I in the? I hate this part of my. I hate this part of Fishbowl sometimes. When you
They're such a. Yep.
yeah, I'm gonna have to ask Fishbowl to give me a new license key, or just bring down the stream and re-edit this.
Yep.
Anyway, that's as a true tech support agent, like check the basics. Like, are you on the right version?
Right.
Oh man. All right, let's try this. Issue that out. Okay. And let's go to build materials for that, and let's make this devil's white egg instead of 2 each, 3 each, right? It doesn't prompt. I
Do
don't know
you
what
need to like start something in the manufacturer order?
I don't know. Like I wish Fishbowl would. I wish Fishbowl would tell us, because the way I read that is what I imagine it should be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To A build materials now prompts to update open orders as well. Is
Hmm.
there? I wonder if there's. Let me double check. There's usually some sort of setting that goes with it. No, that's not there. Manufacturer order. Nope. Nope. And if I go to work orders, there's no module option for work orders. Well, that was. Let's see. Let's have it unissued. Unissued. Save.
Okay.
Build materials. Let's change the white egg to four eggs. And it doesn't prompt. Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
Hmm.
You would think it updated for open. I wonder. Now here's the question. I wonder if we set it to build to order. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we go ahead and put on the sales order. I wonder if they meant by that.
Maybe.
So this fudge BB2002
Those look pretty good.
That looks pretty good. Okay. And build material is set to build to order. And we can put on the sales order. BB2002. Create a work order. Perfect. Okay. Issue it. Now, if you go ahead and, which is I think is a kind of how I thought about it the first time when I was describing the feature.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go change it now. So instead of 4, 6. Still doesn't say. Yeah, I don't know how to make that functionality work. Now we have more.
Check bill of material parts. Nope.
Is there anything else? Email? Nope. Nope. Yeah, I don't know. I have high hopes for that feature.
Yeah, it sounds like it could be really helpful.
It really
Very
would be
useful.
helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's go check out that other manufacturer order feature where they said match MO number to sales order number. Okay. So that would apply in these kind of situations where I've got a built to order item. So let's do a new one. And if we
Okay.
double click on the line, there you go, MO 1059.
All right.
That worked.
Well, there you go.
So now we've got work order 001 and the two numbers match. That helps a lot of people, honestly.
Mhm.
And yeah, I kind of wish this bomb thing worked. I don't know why it didn't work. Anyway, but that's cool. Well, we got 1 out of 2 features that I liked out of it. Now
Yeah.
there's other functionality and features that happen in previous releases that unfortunately we're not going to get to today because that's not what we're trying to do in this live stream. But we're going to try to stay on top of the releases and updates as we go, just to create content for the industry. So we have things to talk about. I'm sure Fishbowl might reach out to me about specifically how that um, update open orders thing is supposed to work. Maybe I did something wrong, but I think I try. I like to think that I kind of tried things like an end user would try to do. So
Yeah. I mean,
uh,
that's what I would have done.
that's
So.
yeah.
Yeah. We'll
Okay,
find out.
we'll find out. Let's get on with the recap.
All right.
So from the SQL structure, right? Was there any questions that you felt like maybe were unanswered that might be helpful for you to review now before we kind of go on to the next lesson?
No, not that I could think of. I mean, it kind of seems very straightforward. Like you need to pick what information you want to peer, right? So you're selecting information from your tables that you
Mm-hmm.
need,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and you're telling it from, right, where you're getting it from. Um, and that basic part is I think is very straightforward. And I know today we're kind of jumping into where, right, giving it maybe more of a filter, right? Um, and then we did talk about joins, and I think were we talking about that there are different kinds of joins,
Yep.
but the most common would be like a left
Yep.
join.
Yep. That's right.
And so, in that, we're just taking the two tables and finding where they match, right? Which column do they match together on? And now let's put them together. So I think that I have that part down pretty pat. I think
Okay.
that I get that
Okay.
pretty well.
Okay. Good. So
Yeah.
what we'll do though is I'll in today's lesson I'll go like all of the joins.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that because you will come across it, and I do want to. It's a kind of a fundamental part of database structure
Right.
that I because basically without the join we've got nothing,
Yeah.
and it's going to be important for us to make sure you've got a good that everyone has a good grasp on what we're dealing with.
Hmm.
So I'm just going to go through the SQL joins. There's a page on W3 schools. Yeah, there we go. Right. And they've got this little diagram
Oh,
here,
there.
which
Yeah.
is very helpful, right?
Hmm.
And um, most of the time when we're dealing with database systems, the join types are unique, right?
Uh-huh.
So when we're looking at a typical join, right? And you can see
Hmm.
what they put the parentheses in here. Can I get there? There we go. You can see where they put the parentheses in here and said like inner join because if you take the inner and the outer joins out, everyone kind of knows what they are by saying join. So
Hmm.
you don't need to say inner join. You can just use join.
Gotcha.
And when you're talking about a left join, what they really mean is a left outer join,
Uh-huh.
right?
Right.
And when we've got these images down here, is essentially the green is the result,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
And so let's take a look at the inner join. Inner join says whatever is in table 1, if it matches with table 2, I want that,
Hmm.
right? A left join, right? Because you're keeping the stuff that started on the left,
Yep.
right? I want everything on the left and also add the records from table 2 that match table 1,
Hmm.
right? Now the right join is very similar, right? I have records in table 1 and I'm going to table 2. I only want the records I want all the records in table 2 plus the records that are in table 1,
Mhm.
right? And if the records don't match in table 1, I don't want them,
Right.
right? And full outer join, which is probably the least likely join that I would make, but that's there because if you're dealing with like intersection of records here,
Mhm.
you kind of need to have it. It's basically I want table 1 and table 2 regardless if they match.
Okay. And does that produce any like duplicates
Mm-hmm.
in that kind? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep. And then is there like a join for everything that's like the opposite of the inner join, like where it's just everything that is not joined? I know that's a
Ah,
silly question, but
okay.
is that more like a like does that exist, I guess?
Yes, it doesn't exist by the keyword
Okay.
necessarily, but you would use that in the where clause,
Okay. Okay.
right? Where you want things from table 1 and then tell me that of records in table 1 where there is no result in table 2,
Okay.
right?
Got it. Yep. Mhm.
Right? So that's a good one because sometimes people get kind of messed up in terms of their join structure because a join structure can actually imply filtering,
Right.
right? Because
Yeah,
you're
that's true.
basically throwing out
Mhm.
results so that you don't need them, right?
Yeah.
And um, we'll talk about this a little bit when we get to more performance related questions,
Mhm.
right? But recognize that the database is using all the information you're providing it to essentially write its own software in a way
Mm.
to retrieve, collect, and organize that data in the most efficient way possible,
Ah.
right?
Mhm.
So it infers a lot, and some of that inference will also say, you know what? If this is an inner join, if I've got like a million records in table 1
Mhm.
and I've got 100,000 records in table 2 that overlap, right?
Mhm.
Then I only need to really look at the 100,000 records that have a join, have a
Right.
record between them, right?
Yep.
So instead of like carrying tons of data as it's processing, it knows to throw away and ignore a ton of stuff,
Gotcha.
right?
Mhm.
But not necessarily when you've got a left join, right?
Mhm.
If table 1 and table 2, anyway, this is going to get into more technical stuff, but I'll end with
Right.
this pretty quickly. If table 1 has a million records and table 2 has a million records, you're actually asking the database to keep that data ready
Mhm.
so that you can start filtering it in the where clauses below,
Gotcha. Okay.
right? And we'll
Yep.
probably go through a little bit of that today, where we're trying to say, uh, what is show me when I have parts of 0,
Oh yeah.
right? Because
Mhm.
we might not even have any,
Right.
so then there's nothing in table 2,
Mhm.
right? And we'll probably start with that right now for the next lesson. How do we do inventory calculations and that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Sounds good.
Cool. Okay,
Yeah.
let's get into it. So we're gonna the data module in Fishbowl again. Come on. Uh-oh. My internet connection is unstable.
Let's say we just blipped out.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here now.
Okay, you're there now. Okay, yeah, my internet. Uh, of course, I'm having troubles in my live stream today. Whatever.
Uh,
All
I
right.
I tell people even the tech people have tech problems.
Even the
It
tech
just
people
is what
have
it
tech
is.
problems. We're just more likely able to like get over it, I guess.
Right.
We're used to it. We don't expect it to work all the time. Okay, so we're gonna be looking at a couple of tables, right? So what we're gonna do is kind of just talk through inventory a little bit because we're gonna be using that a bit. And I'm gonna look at my salt, right?
Okay.
And I've got ounces of salt here. I've got the total cost, I've got the average cost, I've got my on hand, and I've got a bunch of different locations, right?
Mhm.
So in Fishbowl, and thankfully we have lot numbers as well. In Fishbowl, we have this data is stored in a special place, and we'll be
Mhm.
talking about that. You'll have to get used to it. It's not. This is the one thing that may be a bit confusing to people about the Fishbowl database structure, but once you just get used to it, just when you see this word, rename it, right? We're going to be looking at the locations. Oop, that can go away. It's a new VM. Um, we're going to be looking at location groups, locations, and how that all plays together, so we can get a nice round number of 7203.
Okay.
Right.
Mhm.
Let's go to the data module. Right. Under the tables tab, there is going to be a table called tag. RST tag. Right. And what the tag table represents, I won't go into the history. Maybe we can get more advanced. We'll learn about it more. But essentially, consider the tag table the inventory table. Right.
Okay.
Just rename it in your head inventory table, and you'll be fine.
Okay.
In the inventory table or tag table, we have date created, date last modified, a tag number. Again,
Uh-huh.
not that useful. And then we have a part ID. Right.
Okay.
The
Yep.
quantity, and then that's it. Right. That's all that's all this table represents. It's the what is the quantity on hand and quantity committed that the system has. Right. And I usually
Uh-huh.
use the tag table all the time because it's the record of truth. Right. It's the one place that if you're going to be receiving something or picking something or checking inventory, you should be checking the tag table. There's other places that inventory quantities can be represented, but they're not
Mhm.
the true one.
So is the quantity that's in this table like the quantity after, let's say, a receiving or um, shipping activities? Like, is that the value that's represented here?
Yeah,
Or
actually, I'll show you. Yeah, exactly. I'll show you how that table changes when you are doing different operations in Fishbowl. You know, and we can see how that works. And you'll see
sure.
the same thing in inventory module. You know, it'll and that sort of like building understanding will go a long way. So let's do that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start our query from tag, right?
Okay.
And then I'm gonna join to location, and we'll use the keyword on because tags always have location. Why? Fishbowl designed it that way. This is what it is.
Okay. Mhm.
And locations are within location groups. So if I want location groups, then I'm going to bring those up too. Location group ID to our location group ID, right?
Okay. Mhm.
And then I'm going to bring in the parts. So join part on part.id equals tag part ID, right? Those are the
Mhm.
three things that we probably really need, right?
Okay.
So what I'm going to do now is say part. I want my part number, right? I want my part description. Making sure I'm not missing anybody in Slack. Nope. Sometimes the office needs a question from me answered.
Mhm.
And then we're going to do location group and location name,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
And then we're going to give that a run, right? No error. Great. We've got a bunch of rows, 409 rows below my face, so nobody
Wow.
can see.
Yep.
Okay. Well, this is not very helpful because what are we missing? We're missing the quantity. Oh,
There's
of course.
right. There's no
Yeah.
quantities.
Okay. So tag.quantity as quantity on hand, right? And then tag.quantity committed as quantity committed. I just like to use that as a thing, right?
Okay.
You
Yeah.
following along?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Now let's add a criteria, right? We want to look at only our salt, right?
Mhm.
Which in this case, if I go back to the inventory tab, it's B204,
Okay.
right? So what I'm going to say is after my joins, I'm going to
Uh-huh.
say where part.num equals B204. See that?
Okay. And is you have to put it in the not the parentheses, wow, in the quotation, the single
Yeah,
quote
yeah.
because it's a text
It's text
field?
exactly.
Okay.
If it wasn't text and it was numbers, then I don't need it.
Right. Okay.
B B204. Perfect. Yeah. See, this I forget about these sort of things, and good thing
Well,
you ask. Someone's
so
gonna ask that
on
question.
yeah, so like on that, like if we were to use, let's say, the part ID, not that anyone would, but if they use the part ID, is that a numeric field?
Yes, if you used
Okay.
part ID, it'd be part ID
I wouldn't even know
38.
what the part IDs
But, you know,
are. Right.
you get that. You
So
get that, right?
yeah,
So that's the same.
yeah.
And actually, in how Fishbowl reports work, sometimes your inputs are IDs instead of numbers or names or
Uh,
descriptions, right?
Interesting. Okay.
So
Yep.
you see it in the reports as a drop down selector of a particular part, but
Mhm.
the report, for purposes of speed and purposes of making things easier,
Right.
just applies the ID of that record.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, all right, let's go back to our B204.
Mhm.
All right, so we've got B204 description, location group name, location name, and then quantity on hand plus quantity committed.
Mhm.
So Fishbowl implementation training. Question for you. Let's see if you can
Okay.
answer it. When does inventory become committed?
It becomes committed when you committed in the pick,
Okay.
right?
What else?
Um, I don't know.
Okay.
I
There's
know
the
when it gets allocated.
okay. So good. This is good.
Yeah.
It's available. It's in the committed quantity in the tag table
Uh-huh.
and in inventory when you can see it here. Yes, when it's committed on a pick, that always happens. That's always
Okay.
available in the pick. What that means is that you're saying this specific inventory, maybe with this exact lot number,
Right.
I want for this pick,
Right.
and it locks it in place,
Uh-huh.
right? The other thing that happens too is when you ship, it becomes committed, right? So it removes it from like stockroom location to the shipping location, and then leaves it in shipping, but commits it to that order, right? And then there's
Okay.
a couple more places when you are removing it from the shelf and bringing it to the manufacturing area for the
Uh-huh.
purposes of a work order pick.
Right.
When you're waiting to manufacture it or complete the work order, the units in manufacturing location is committed to that work order,
Okay.
right?
Yep. Yep.
And then the last thing is and I think I got them all, but the last one is when the inventory is in transit in a ship transfer order,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
right?
Yep.
In all of those cases, you still own it.
Mm-hmm.
You're just logically and by way of the systems preventing you from using it for anything else, right?
Right. Yep. And it hasn't left.
It
It's
hasn't
not
left the build. It hasn't
gone, so it's
right.
yeah.
It hasn't
Okay.
left our economic control,
Right.
right?
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm,
Yes.
mm-hmm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell. I'm going to commit some salt to order, and we're going to see that change in the records.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to hopefully can find it in a pick. The in search B204. I got it. Close
Nobody
up.
wants salt.
Nobody wants salt. Bummer.
They all want cookies.
Let's put it on a work order. Let's just oversalt this work order. Raw good.
Ooh,
B204. One
make
ounce of
them
salt.
salty chocolate fudge
Yep. Okay, so
cookies.
now we're gonna go to pick for this manufacturer order, and we're gonna commit. Use a little icon here.
Yep.
And now we've committed 1 ounce of salt in the receiving location.
Okay.
Right. If you go to the inventory module and you hit refresh, you can see that quantity changed to 1.
Yep.
Right.
Mhm.
And then if we go to the data module and we hit the refresh here, we can see that has changed to 1.
Okay. Yep.
So Fishbowl, and of course I'm not. This is a contrived but real example. Is handling the juggling act of which inventory is going where and that sort of thing,
Mhm.
right? In fact, if I go to there's a standard report in Fishbowl. As much as we pick on the standard reports in Fishbowl, it can do this. Inventory part committed report, and there we go. That's our work order.
Oh.
This report is, I think, very accurate. I think there's certain cases where it's not accurate when technically something's broken in Fishbowl and a sales order hasn't shipped but is marked incorrect. There's
Right.
when Fishbowl's working right, this report's great. It tells you
Right.
exactly what's going on, right? It doesn't. Fishbowl doesn't tell you here. You can't like hover your cursor and say like who has my inventory,
Right.
but that is essentially what this report's for.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Okay.
Makes
Ah,
sense.
that's nice. Yeah. I think that's a good report to have.
Yep.
Especially if you need to track stuff. Yeah.
If you need to track stuff. Yep. Okay. So now we're gonna go back to our table and our record, and maybe we don't actually really care which locations we have this inventory into,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let's go comment those out. So you can comment things in MySQL with a double dash space,
Okay.
or the I think the hashtag. No wait, the is it
What
hashtag? I
about?
think hashtag works. Yeah, there it does. So you do
Oh, okay.
hash, and then we can get rid of those columns,
Okay.
right? It doesn't change anything. The interpreter that reads in everything you typed in ignores it,
Right. Okay.
which is nice.
Yeah.
So now we have a part number, quantity on hand, and quantity committed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now let's do a total.
Oh, yeah.
Let's use some aggregate functions.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do a sum, and just like MySQL, Excel, not MySQL, like Excel functions. You just use the
Uh-huh.
word sum and wrap it. There's you can find some definitions online for the other functions.
Uh-huh.
There's average, min, max, that sort of thing. But for
Right.
today and right now, we're gonna use sum, and that's
Okay.
it. We're gonna hit, run, and we get a result, right? But
Uh,
this is the wrong way of doing it,
uh-huh.
right? What happened to our quantity committed?
Now it's 0 because I don't know why. I'm guessing that it's because whatever the first thing it found, right, the first record in the tag table, right, that since that didn't have something commit, like it's only showing the first record of the tag table for quantity committed, not
Right.
but it's summing the quantity on hand.
Right. That is, if you can believe it, that is a feature of MySQL. You can change it. You can actually tell it to be more strict,
Oh.
but it actually can behave in this kind of not strict way.
Huh.
Right. And this was actually one of the things. I mean, I'm dating myself now, but when we were on Fishbowl 2020, not 2020, but Fishbowl 2016, before we went to MySQL in 2017,
Uh-huh.
we were using a different database engine, which was a lot more strict. I liked it a lot more, but
Uh-huh.
MySQL's cool too. It can do cool things. It's like chocolate vanilla. Come on,
Right.
no one get into a fight for this.
Yeah.
It would say like, hey, you're telling me to sum a column, but you're not telling me what to do with the rest of the columns. Right? What do you really want to do? Did you forget?
Yeah.
Right? And MySQL is really by default, out of the box, will just say, you know what? I know what you mean. I'm gonna do this. Right?
Well, it assumes it knows what you mean.
Exactly. It makes a lot of assumptions. It does
Yeah.
make a lot of assumptions.
Right.
So I'm gonna get rid of my where clause here by commenting it out.
Okay.
Right? And then let's see what happens. Right? Does
Why?
that make any sense?
No.
Well, it did exactly what it did before. Right? You were focused on the fact of the quantity committed, not the part number, part description.
Right. Now it just added. Wow. Why would it do that?
Again, it
This
doesn't
is where
know any
people
better.
can get themselves into trouble if they
Yes.
don't know any better. I can
Yes.
tell.
Yes. And we've done this before. We forgot to do the group by, right? And the group by is another keyword where we tell the database engine, it's like, start splitting up rows by these columns.
Okay.
Right? So I was like, split up the rows by group by part dot number.
Okay.
Right? So it'll do exactly what you think it'll do and break it out.
Here we go. Okay. Well, at least the quantity on hand is there, but our quantity committed. Oh, look, we have one committed cinnamon by chance. Oh, and one committed salt. There we go.
Again, but notice how the previous queries didn't even include that.
Right. Yeah, this just is a by chance.
Exactly.
Instance,
That's a by chance. There's a lot more nuance in the background based on the access patterns that the MySQL have to the actual data on disk or
Right.
chips nowadays. But that can happen. Yeah,
Wow.
that can happen.
Okay.
So I don't want anybody to get scared, but just to recognize that there's unfortunately I wish there was a lot more science, but sometimes there's a little bit of art
Right.
with this as well.
It's a little bit of just watch out for this.
Right. I
Yeah.
remember we had that meeting with a customer where somebody else had written a query,
Oh, yes.
and I was like, this the query, yes, it's technically giving you an answer, but the way it's written is not written the way that I think you should write it.
Right.
It,
Yes.
it is
I
it
do
is
recall.
giving you a number that is grossly incorrect.
Right. And it could be an instance like this. Not that I don't know, I didn't see it in its full nature, but it could be something where something like this happens. It just
Mm-hmm.
happens to pull a value that looks like maybe you think it's right, but you don't really know. You can't verify or
You can't
validate it.
verify. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's why for us, ILC has a little bit of structure the way we write SQL.
Hmm.
Notice how I kind of have all lowercase column names.
Hmm.
And we have some other things where we kind of tab over our columns. We keep them like this.
Oh,
You know,
I was going to ask you about that. Like, do we need to tab in join? Do
mm-mm,
these,
mm-mm, mm-mm, no.
is it just walks in the line, and however the line is, it's
Yeah,
fine.
the interpreter is white space insensitive, meaning it doesn't
Okay.
care how many rows or lines we've got here. It
It'll
ignores
go.
them until there's an appropriate keyword.
Gotcha. Okay. And if you, not that I'm saying I would ever do this, but if you happen to put like all of your joins in one long continuous sentence, would it
I
take that too?
Yes, it would. Yeah,
Ooh.
it would.
Why would you do that? But okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because again,
It makes sense. Yeah.
it's
It's
case and
following
it's white
it's
space
looking for
insensitive.
a keyword. Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. You know how
Interesting.
when you those toys that you pull back and they kind
Oh,
of like
the
make a
little like
string,
wind up
the
things.
wind up
Yeah.
toys, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
some of those have like gears in them to essentially turn left and right
Oh, yeah.
at a
Yeah.
predetermined interval, you know?
Right.
And that's kind of what this is. It's like it's just following the word this. Okay, white space, white space. Oh, is that a table? Yep,
Right.
looks like a table. Oh, is that a column? Yep, it's a column. Oh,
Right.
that's another keyword. Oh, I'll keep going until I see a comma
Right.
and then keep going. So it's kind of amazing how co- computers can understand the fact that we're typing this stuff out and it translates it into code that it can run and give us a result.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it has limitations.
Right.
You couldn't like your SQL course questions. You
Hmm.
know, what was the score? What was the total score of Manchester United? You
Right.
know, that is a very English word, but this we're dealing with a lot more context here.
Hmm.
You know, make sense?
Interesting. Yeah.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about. Well, actually, let's fix this. Let's fix. We can't keep. I can't keep looking at this.
You don't want to keep
I don't
looking
want
at a
someone to
problem
come by and be
child.
like, "That's a great way to write a query," and like now my quantity commit is wrong.
Yeah.
Well, if you watched the live stream, you didn't leave,
Right.
you would have noticed that there actually is a result here. So we've got
Right.
okay. So
Nothing
it's
more than one
nothing
apparently
more than one.
anywhere.
Whatever. But you get the idea. So
Yep.
now we've got inventory for all of our inventory on hand.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Now that you know a little bit about the join structure, there's probably parts in here where we have 0 on hand.
Right. So that makes me wonder, okay, well, now what would we do? Do we do I mean, if we did a left join on the part, right, that would give us all of the parts and
Let's try it.
match them?
Let's try it. There's 50 rows here, right? I'm
Okay.
gonna hit plus, and we get 51.
51. Oh, yeah, that's not a good row to have.
Right? That's not a good row to
I
have.
don't know what that means, but
Yeah,
that's not good.
there are yeah. So that's not the same thing, right? That didn't give us what we wanted. So we got one
No.
row, but still not what we wanted.
Right.
You want to try the right join? Let's try the right join.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Let's try it. Okay. 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 Yeah. So it did it right. I don't know if that's actually how many parts we have or not. 56, but
54. There's probably inactive parts in here. 56.
Okay. Okay. So then, can I think through why it did that? So a left join, right, would be like it takes the first, whatever the first table is. So like if you would have put part as the first one after from tag, then would that have worked as a left join? And now it's a right join because it's the last one you're adding
Okay,
to it?
let's try left join. Sorry, I gotta get my
I don't
tagging
know.
right.
I'm
I
just
gotta.
thinking.
No, you're right. Oh, I want to get your thinking right.
My thought. Yeah.
All right, let's run that. No.
No. Okay.
51 rows.
Interesting. Okay, so now I need to know why it has to be the right join there. Wait. Now it's 50.
Yeah, what did I? Oh, I know why.
Okay.
You're right. Join order does matter.
Okay.
Boom.
Okay, now we're at 56. Okay. Yeah. So interesting. Right. Okay, so because if we were to do it the other way, right, then you're telling it I'm trying to think of like visually I can picture it, but I don't know how I can verbally explain it. But okay, we'll just keep going because I might waste too much time.
Okay. Yeah. So what's happening is the software, the database engine has actually read everything about this. Like it's done the first pass. The first pass is, do I understand that this is a valid statement SQL? Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Got it. The second, and I'm gonna be paraphrasing this. This is maybe not exactly how my SQL's doing it, but it'll be something similar.
Yeah.
It's gonna start looking at your from data here.
Uh-huh.
Right. So this is your first hop. You're starting at tag, right?
Yep.
And then it's going to join the location, right? And it's making an inner join based on this criteria on making sure these two are equal.
Okay.
Right. And then it's going to hop over to location group, make sure this is equal, right? And then move on. And then now it's going to go to part, but then realize this is a right join. So I need everything in part first, and then bring in records from the tag table. So what happens here is that if I do that here, right? I'm doing these. I'm getting this set of results first, and then I'm doing this join.
Right.
Right. And if we have no on hand tag records, this would filter them out. These joins in the location groups.
Right. Okay. Yep.
Just by the natural order of the joins, right? That's how joins can imply a filtering with it. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So you said why not left join? Right? Well, left join still doesn't do it. And left join on either order here still gives us the same 51 rows.
Right.
Why? Because these joins of the location group filter that out.
Right.
Now, we could still do left joins on the location and location group, but that still won't do anything. Why?
Because it doesn't exist in the tag table?
That's exactly right.
Yes.
That's exactly right. It doesn't exist in the tag table anyway.
Right. So it can't. And the tag table is always going to be the left table because it's the first one you're talking about, right?
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Now, when we're dealing with database engines, they're assuming a lot more of the, I would say, the algebraic ideas here. They're actually adding in parentheses here to indicate the structure of the join.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
These two, and then
add the
this
next
thing
one.
plus this thing, and then these three plus that three, or that last one. Yeah.
Yeah. Order of operations.
There's an order of operations, right? But you don't know it, but the database is doing it for you because we don't need to go parentheses have, crazy here.
Right. No, and see, that's what I was trying to say earlier and couldn't spit out the words.
Right.
That. Yep. Order of operations.
There's
yep.
an order of operations, right?
Yes.
And it's like, you can't, like, if you have to add I don't know how to say this, like, it doesn't do the cake any good to add the eggs at the end of the process when you needed to add it at the beginning of the process.
Right. Yeah.
Right? If you're baking a cake,
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, yeah, technically, yes, you've included all the ingredients.
Right.
Check.
But that would be a gross cake.
But it was the wrong order. Right? It
Yeah.
would be a gross cake.
Yeah.
Egg frosting cake.
No, let's just not.
Okay, so now how do we get inventory with 0? Well, here's what we do.
Yeah.
What we do is we swap our tables around.
Okay.
We start from part because that's our minimum criteria.
Uh-huh.
And then we see how this was before, and then we just swap that around. Starting from part, bring in tag if it exists, bring in location group if it exists.
Okay. Okay, yep.
Yep. So I'm going to run that. 56 rows.
So now, do we need to leave these as left joins, or if you put just join, would it still be at 56?
Once you put a join here, it filters it out.
Whew. Okay. Yep. Because it doesn't. Okay. Yes. Got it.
Right.
Yep.
Because the tag, you're telling it what you want, so it's doing it.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So now we're going to bring in back the location names. We'll see what we got.
Okay.
Makes sense?
Yep.
Okay.
We have our empty slots because they don't have any inventory, but it just says it's empty. It doesn't say it's 0.
Right. Right. Makes sense?
Yep.
Okay. So let's go to location group real quick. We have 4 location groups.
Okay.
Right? If you wanted to say we have 0 inventory across all of location groups for distilled water, you'd wonder, why do we want to? Why does it say blank? I don't know what blank means.
Right.
What does blank mean? It means you don't have inventory.
It just means empty. Yeah.
It doesn't. It's not there.
There's nothing. Yeah.
Right. In fact, let me make a new part real quick. I don't know. Right. Olive oil. There's my olive oil part number.
Yep.
Right. And the question is, do I have inventory of this olive oil at location SLC or MI or main, right? And if you're looking specifically for olive oil and SLC for Salt Lake City, and you don't see it, well, you might think that there's a problem, right? Because you're expecting to see 0. Right. I bring this up because we actually went through this with a client of ours in that call, right?
Oh yeah.
They wanted to see, like, no, I wanted to show 0 when there's actually 0. I'm like,
right.
Okay, well, if it doesn't show up, then you can just assume that it's 0. But that wasn't good enough for her.
Right.
Right.
We needed a 0.
We needed the 0. Right. So now what we're going to do is change the structure of the query to do a what's called. See, you know what? I screwed up because now I remembered what I'm talking about. There's another type of join called a Cartesian join.
Oh, I have not heard of that one.
Remember your multiplication tables?
Yes.
It's kind of like that.
Oh, okay.
Right? So what that Cartesian join is going to be is we're going to tell the database, like, I want part crossed with location group. Right?
Okay, yeah.
And then we're going to see what that looks like. And I'm going to and I'm not going to get the results here yet. I'm actually going to delete a bunch of this stuff and show you what that looks like. So I'm going to hide this, hide that, and then okay. Actually, you know what? Just delete all of it. Make it easy.
Just get rid of it all.
Okay. So let's see what happened. So I've got B201,
Okay.
B200, and then I've got the 4 location groups all broken out.
Yep.
So even though I have just 57 parts, 55 parts,
55 active parts.
55, 57 active, 57 parts.
Yep.
See, I'm not even filtering for active ones here. I can do that. Right. Okay.
Okay.
Right. So 55 times 4 is
That 220.
that 220. Yep. Because what we want to see, what they want to see, is the actual part at 0.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So let's see how that would work. So what we're going to do is join left join tag. Oh, sorry, location tag part 80. I don't know what I'm thinking. I spaced out.
I was wondering, like, oh, okay, this is another one. We'll do this. This is cool.
Yep. And then we're going to join. Actually, you know what? That's the weird part. And you see that structure? I've got these 2 tables,
Right.
plus this one, plus this one. Let's see if it will give it to us, because I can't get to, because I want all of the LA, SLC. Yeah, so let's see if this works.
Part ID on clause.
Okay. Yep. I had a feeling this was going to be the case.
Oh no.
Yep. So this MySQL has this. I'm gonna go look it up real quick.
And what is this group by one? I don't know what
Oh,
group
sorry.
by one is.
I see. This is my habit. So basically, there's MySQL understands that there's these columns are really a pain in the ass to type.
Uh-huh.
So you can reference them by column position.
So
1, 2,
like
3,
this
4.
is okay. So if
By
you
the
put group by 4, then it would, group by, not that you would ever do that, but it would know that that's the quantity on hand column. Okay. Got it.
Okay. So we're gonna try that again. Okay. So here's the error, right?
Right.
It doesn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Well, you can do this, and this is technically, again, more like, your multiplication tables, right? But we're trying to make it filter things at the same time for these other joins, right? And technically, what's happening is it's doing this crossing, right? These Cartesian product of both of them, but the results of that are not available until you're done them all, right?
Oh.
So it's because you got to think about it, it's going row by row too.
Yep.
Right. So this won't work, but there's a way that I've gotten around it. Is we'll do this.
So what's that do? That's
so
join location group on 1 equals 1,
right?
right?
So what the on condition really looking for is a true or false, right? So if 1 equals 1, well, that's always true. And I guess I could say true. On true, would that work? Yeah, I guess I could do that. Can I do that? Just that? Yeah, I can do that too. So I don't know. I had to do this with other databases before, so I kind of follow it. So you don't really need to do that, but you can say from the part join every record of the location group.
Okay.
Right, and then bring in the quantity on hand. Right.
Okay.
So that gives us a better idea of what we're dealing with, right?
Mm-hmm.
But notice how everything's LA location group.
Right.
Well, because we forgot to split it out into group by.
Mm.
There we go.
Okay. Yep. But now, I don't know if that's true or not, but all of the quantity on hand, like cranberry juice, all those numbers are the same.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
look, and blue raspberry lemonade, pink lemonade, all the quantity on hands are the same.
Let's find out. Yeah, let's find out what happened there, because what could be happening is that the way that you write the SQL
Uh-huh.
can generate these kind of results. So let's go P702.
Okay.
297, right?
Yep.
And inventory or data module, sorry. 297. Okay, I know what happened. It's not actually splitting up the location group and grouping the tag records based on that.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So what ends up happening is this sort of situation where it's really hard for you to write this in one SQL shot, because you're actually looking for records of the tag that are in the location group that you're interested in,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you need to go through the location table to get there,
Yeah.
right? Because you're
Right.
missing that piece of information. So now what you got to do is you got to do. I was planning on doing this later, but I kind of realized we're walking into this kind of more advanced SQL. But
Uh-huh.
oh well, we're gonna need to do a subjoin or subquery,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna do it like this. So just kind of follow along. Right.
Okay. Yep. Got that.
So we're gonna write our own SQL that has these two conditions in it first before we bring it to the main query, this top end, right?
Okay. Yep.
So we're going to write some SQL between these parentheses,
Mm-hmm.
call it on hand,
Mm-hmm.
join it on these two conditions as a left join, and then display it at the top here. So we're probably going to do on hand dot quantity, and where we're going to do some specialness is that we're no longer going to require a group by up there. Make sense?
Interesting. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to say tag.part ID, location group ID, sum tag.quantity, right?
Okay. Yep.
From tag, join part, sorry, location, group by 1, 2. This is
Okay.
a sub-select
Yep.
query that
Uh-huh.
we're joining into our main query.
Gotcha. Okay.
Does
Yep.
that make a bit more sense?
Yeah, it's like it's just like nesting stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're
Yes.
basically as if we're making a virtual table
Right.
that is these three fields.
Right.
Oops, and I got to call this quantity. Oops. That is just these three fields, and
Mm-hmm.
then we're gonna and then we're gonna have some additional behavior on top of that,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Yep.
So if there was already an on-hand table or inventory table that had just tracked the part ID and location group ID and quantity, then
Mm-hmm.
we just call it,
Right.
you know, on-hand
But
by
since we
warehouse.
don't have it,
But
we
we
have
don't
to
have
make
it,
one.
we got to make one, right?
Okay.
And the great thing about database is that it knows what you're trying to do and can say like, okay, I know what you're talking about, but the most efficient programming wise to do this is to do this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
There's always that translation layer happening with the database to help you figure out something else.
Yep.
Make sense? So I'm going to hit run, and let's take a look at the results. All right, let's group by our cranberry juice.
Okay. Yeah.
And we have none on hand at
Yep.
SLC.
Yep.
Let's go confirm that. 702, I don't see it.
I don't see it either.
I don't see it either. And we can click this little question mark, and SLC 0.
Yep.
You see that?
Yep. There it is. Okay.
So now we have a full list, and you can believe, and this happens all the time. Why doesn't it say 0? Why is it blank?
Um,
Oh no, I'm
because
just saying that
like
that's what a
this.
customer would say. That's
Yeah.
exactly what a customer would say. Why
Right.
is it not 0?
Right.
Okay,
Why doesn't
okay,
it show 0?
okay. We're gonna use another favorite function of ours, the coalesce function, right?
Okay.
And the coalesce function, its goal is to say whatever input field you give it,
Uh-huh.
if that is empty, roll over to the next one.
Okay.
So if onHand.quantity is empty,
Uh-huh.
then roll over to 0.
Okay. And
Or
if you put like a 1 or a 5 or whatever, then it would display that
exactly.
instead. Okay.
Boom, now we have our 0.
Ta-da.
Uh,
There you go.
does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah.
But then we have some more things going on. I don't know how much more we're going to do this, but I hope you kind of get where we're kind of going here, right? That people want a lot of detail, and then they want less detail if there's less of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, but I know in LA there's 2 locations for that vanilla extract. Why don't I
Right.
see that? Like, oof.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll try location.id as location ID, right? And
Okay.
then we'll do we'll still have this join here, right? But then we'll have a left join on location, right? And hopefully this gives us the behavior that we're looking for. And we'll say 1, 2, 3, 4.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, no, I don't think we need to do anything there. We need to do it here. 1, 2, 3. Add another one. There you go. And there you go. So we have detail for what's in the location,
Mm-hmm.
right? Here's a good one down here. There's 2 of them inside of
Yep.
Maine, or 2 of them inside of LA.
Yep.
But we have none when we have none in Maine,
Uh-huh.
right? So depending on what people are looking for in terms of data, we kind of have to like break down. Well, first I usually go off of what my defaults are, right?
Uh-huh.
Which is a version of like, well, if it doesn't have it, then you just don't see it, right?
Right.
You wouldn't even see this row because it's empty, right?
Right.
But people are creatures of they want to understand what's there, so they
Right.
have to see that it's empty.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes it's a good way to know that it's not just accidentally missing, right? It is actually 0. It's not that we
True,
messed something up.
true,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. You're not wrong, and you know this because you've had your inventory
Oh
career.
yeah.
You've
I
had
needed my zeros, man. I needed them.
yeah. For me, I was like, if it's not there, it's not there.
Yeah.
I trusted my SQL.
Right.
Well,
No, but it's more of when you're on that side, you could easily forget, right? You could just skip over it and go, "Oh yeah, it didn't show up, so I didn't think about like, oh, I'm actually out of it. I just was processing through everything else."
right,
So,
100%,
yep. But
100%.
no. This is good. This is good. So
Okay,
you kind of have to think about like how detailed that start from, like a simple version and then just get a little more detailed and a little more detailed. And yeah, I can see this like making a table or making a query within a query is oof,
yep. Well,
next
one of the things
that's next level.
one of the things that I've got to explain to people is that yeah, it's entirely possible that the second you want an additional column caused us to write an additional, you know, 10 lines of 10 lines of code and then troubleshooting, even more,
Right.
right? This version of this query, I'm going to save it over here for our friends in the audience. And we go back to an earlier version that was just this, right? I was like,
Yeah.
this is way different to this. Let me move this around. Move to Other view. There we go.
Yeah.
Right. So you could. So this is where I found customers sometimes, and this is okay. This happens all the time. And don't feel bad. It's just the nature of the beast is like, okay, this this join to do it like this, but the second you want location name caused us to have a much more complex query,
Yeah.
right? And it's just
Mhm.
like, why? It's just a location name,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, yes, but of
But
course,
yeah.
and then there's like levels on top of that, right? Because then we got to change the report, or we got to change some report structure, whatever.
Mhm.
And so it's this is like remodeling versus just building a house. Like, damn it, if we knew you wanted a pool, we would have designed the house with a pool,
Right.
from the beginning. And now we've got to retrofit a pool in your existing backyard, and there's like pipes and lines and cables and whatever that we've got to move away.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the
No,
good thing
this is good to see side by side.
the good thing is that with most of this stuff for SQL though, it's like it really isn't that hard. It's just harder to make sure that we don't add more complexity or add more wrongness, I guess you could
Mm.
say.
Mhm. Yeah.
Unintended side effects.
Right. Like if you're solving a really intricate math problem and you mess up early on, you don't really know as you go along. It
Hmm.
might look like it's right, but
You've accrued all, yes, exactly. You've accrued all those errors
yeah.
over time.
Yep.
Okay, so I think we've covered. Let me just hide this. I think we've covered most of what we wanted to talk about. The joins, the where clause, the aggregate functions. There's a lot more. Like you can just their min, max, average, etc. Those are the sum. Like those are the top four. You
And
know.
when you use those functions like we did up in the select part, you always have to give them an alias.
You don't have to, but
Okay.
it's a lot easier because if you don't, what'll end up happening? I'll get rid of it for this one. It'll just give you that one
Gotcha. Okay.
as the alias, and that's not nice for report developers or people to read
Right.
what's going on.
Give them a variable
Give them a
name.
name. You
Yeah.
know. Um. Oh, another thing here we forgot the having condition.
Oh yeah.
Right. So I'm gonna kind of switch gears. We're gonna stop looking at inventory on hand, but we're gonna take a look at line items,
Okay.
right, of a sales order. So we're gonna do our sales order thing here. Join SO item on SO item dot SOID equals SO dot ID. Sales order number, sum, SO item, total price. Super simple query, right? Wrote through it all
Mhm.
the time, right? So what the having condition means is sometimes you want to filter on the summed result, right? So what people will do is just like where, because they don't really know what's going on, they'll say where SO item dot total price is greater than 100 or 1,000,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
And they get that. I was like,
Okay.
but I know there's an order in there for $1,010. Where is it?
Mm.
And they're in their mind they've written it what they think is going on, but that's the database engine is interpreting it very strictly. Where the SO items rows are greater than 1,000, and then sum those,
Oh. Okay.
right?
Uh huh.
So what ends up happening is we got to change this a little bit. Having, and then our sum column, the sum of the total price is greater than 1,000.
Okay.
Yep, there's it is. 1017, 1050.
Ah. Okay.
Different. So back. That is different than that.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So you use. So do you just use having when you want to use like a and one of those aggregate like a sum or an
Mm-hmm.
average or a
Mm-hmm.
minimum or whatever?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Interesting.
Because without it, it'll just be the total of all the sales. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now there's another way of doing it. That doesn't require the having. And that is, again, making a subquery.
Huh.
This is functionally the same
As having.
as this.
It seems much easier to do the other way.
Yeah.
With having. I feel like I could very easily mess up and forget a parentheses here.
Well,
Not really, but yeah.
yeah, you could,
Yeah, if it
but
depending on
sometimes,
how elaborate you get.
but
Yeah.
sometimes this is actually faster,
Okay, yeah.
just depending on what you're doing.
Right.
In fact, depending on what you're doing, it might actually the database might optimize a different result,
Uh,
right?
mhm.
And sometimes I do this when I have to do like uh, calculations on calculations on calculations,
Mhm.
right? So I say my base for my base query is z, x, y, v, right?
Mhm.
You know, just so I can start creating like a structure to it.
Yeah.
But
That
that's a
makes
little more
sense. Yeah.
advanced. We'll get there.
Right.
That's not going to happen today in this live stream.
Yep.
And in fact, I want to ask you, how do you feel? Do you want to go to the bomb example? You feel up
Yeah.
for it?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay, let's do a minimum build quantity on the bomb.
Okay.
Right. So we're gonna clear our results here, and let's go talk a little bit about what we're dealing with. Right.
Mhm.
So essentially, there's a function in Fishbowl called the quick build.
Mhm.
Right. I'm gonna refresh this here, and the quick build says this result. And I get a lot
Right.
of these questions. It's like, hey, I love the available to build. I just want that as a report,
Right.
right? So it says 88 here,
Uh-huh.
but what 88 is it,
Yeah.
right? So, darn. Okay. So, well, we have to be careful. We have 88 bombs to build.
Right. And
That's
this one bomb happens to make 25.
225. So if I were to change this to do like a one each, with like, what weren't you saying earlier before the live stream? You were talking about it's like your cookie dealer.
Oh yeah.
So instead of 25 cookies, we're just making one
Yeah.
fudge batch.
Right.
Okay, so let's go to the quick build again. Oh, it says 88 still. I wonder what that means. Oh, did it understand that Fishbowl is building 25 and still? Oh, interesting. I did not expect that. Learn something new. Okay, well, fine. Let's
Mm,
let's keep it easy. Let's just assume we're making one, right?
Okay.
And these are our conditions, right?
Yep.
2 pounds of mix, 6 eggs, 8 ounces of vegetable oil, and 5 chocolate chips,
Mhm.
right? So now we have to figure out which of these is the most limiting factor, and then say, okay, our a max available to build for BB2002 is just that,
Right.
right? So as a preview, we'll be going to the bomb table, the part table, the bomb item table as well, the tag table for inventory, right?
Okay.
And then we're going to be doing a lot of aggregate calculations to get the result.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense.
Makes sense? So let me actually, so I have some notes because this query is not that easy to write, and I have gotten it wrong before. I don't want to get it wrong again.
What?
Yeah, I've got my
You're
cheat sheets.
human?
I've got my cheat sheets.
I can imagine that would be very helpful as you make more and more reports that you could, recycle bits and pieces from each of them, because at the end of the day, you're still working with Fishbowl, no matter, who. And obviously, custom fields factoring in are different, but, it kind of ties all together
Yeah,
eventually.
even then it gets weirder. Like I could write a query that works great for this,
Yeah,
but then not work at all well for what was that? Oh
that
yeah,
one.
here we go. The option
Snickerdoodles.
groups.
Yeah.
Eek, like I don't.
That would be a fun one. I can imagine how much more complexity it adds, though, because, like, are we using the default option
Mhm.
or is it
Mhm.
any option? Do we not care?
Mhm.
Do we want a mix of the two?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. So sometimes that's where SQL kind of falls on its face because it's like that if then logic.
Yeah.
Not that SQL doesn't have if then logic, but it's yeah, like I said, it's a pain. There is a way to figure this out because there's a default here. So there's this option
Yep.
group default. So we could say like I'm gonna give you a result that also gives the option group default. But then again, like when I write a query, I'm not thinking about every customer. I'm just
Right.
thinking of that customer that I'm working with.
Right. That
You know,
specific one.
they're not paying for compatibility for what might happen in the future
Right.
because I don't have it. I don't have that data available for us to review.
Right.
So, and that's where sometimes I think customers can also get a little bit confused. It's like this report worked before, now it's broken. No, it's not broken. Your business model changed. No one thought that you were going to continue doing this, adding option groups to your bombs, so we didn't plan for it.
Right.
You didn't have any to look at, and you didn't ask about it.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
it would be exhausting for us to give a customer a whole list of gotchas,
Mhm.
and that list of gotchas won't even be complete
Yeah.
usually. And then Fishbowl changes,
Right. They add new
versions.
functions. Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, so let's see if we can get. I've got my notes here,
Sure.
and I think we can end for today.
Sure.
So let us look at the bomb. Right, lots of bomb data. We saw that on the screen. Right,
Mhm.
no big deal. We were looking at bomb. Oh, what was it?
The 2002 top one.
Okay.
Chocolate
I
fudge.
wish the part numbers weren't as long, but whatever. Actually, you know what?
You can just change it.
I'm changing it. There we go. So what I'm going to say, where bomb dot number equals BB2002. One row. Perfect. Fantastic. Right?
We like that.
So let's pull in the bomb number. Easy, right?
Yep.
Let's bring in the bomb items. Okay, we got that. Cool.
Yep.
Okay, we have the quantities, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Now, technically, I probably need to be looking at unit of measures, but I'm not going to,
Right.
right? So again, more gotchas.
Uh-huh.
So you can kind of get the idea of what I'm dealing with here. Like I've got the bomb number, bomb description, bomb item description, quantity, etc., etc., etc. Right?
Yep.
So what I'm gonna do is what I'm gonna do is probably just copy and paste this because realistically, what I want my bomb data to be
Mhm.
is what is my finished good,
Yep.
and then what is my raw goods, and then
Mhm.
what is my ultimate raw material quantity.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So what I'm going to do is actually replace all this with my pre-written. Oh, come on. Can I not copy and paste today? Didn't we have this problem before?
We did actually. Yeah, while we were on a call. You did not want to go through.
I lost my copy and paste buffer. All right.
Start typing real fast.
No, I'm not joking. Like,
Oh, too bad there's no voice to text here, huh?
no, well, there's some people that I know that I don't know them, um, but they're blind software developers or they don't have hands,
Yeah.
so they end up talking to the computer for programming, which I think is great.
Yeah. That That's amazing that you can do that. I love that.
And I already realized I had some mistakes. And I don't mean to rush it through it, but I'll explain a little bit.
Well, I think I'm kind of following. We're getting finished goods, our raw materials. Yep.
Okay. Okay, and then the resulting columns that I need is finished good part ID as finished good part ID, because I need to know what it is later. Raw
Right.
material part ID as raw material part ID, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now I need to know everything that's going on within those two columns, right? Sum if, actually, you know what? Sum RM quantity divided by finished good quantity. This gets me to the net 1 result.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to group by. See that? I'm going to rename this as RM quantity. So this is the finished good, this is the raw part ID, and the raw material quantity divided by the batch, right? Or the units that are to make of it. So since I've got, if I go back to the BOM, since I'm making one each out of these items, it's just 2 divided by 1 is 2, right? That supports this. That would fix the situation where the batch is like a batch size, like a 25,
Right.
right? Like we saw earlier. But in this case, we're just going to do 1. It's easier. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is wrap this in an alias called BOM data.
Okay.
BOM data star for all columns in the BOM data alias table.
Mm-hmm.
From that, and then what I'm going to do is bring in some other table. You know when we were talking about the views?
Yeah.
We're going to use one
Okay.
because we're lazy. So we're going to do left join quantity inventory totals on BOM data dot rm part id equals quantity inventory totals dot part id, right? And what we're going to do with that is we're going to calculate the quantity that's available for the part, for the raw material, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to do is do a couple things here. We're going to sum, you know what? I got to give myself an alias here because it's just too many typing. As inventory, there we go. Inventory dot quantity allocated, which is a field in that view.
Okay.
Sorry, I got to get it right. Sum inventory dot quantity on hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Minus sum dot quantity allocated, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm going to call that as RM available.
Okay. Yep.
Right. And then I got to do a group by. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That tells me the available quantity. Right.
Right.
So I'm not going to go too far advanced because, in fact, I got to do a little more typing here. So I actually have to assume that I could get 0. So I have to do a coalesce here. You can start seeing where things kind of get really hairy because you need to wrap things and other things in order to get it to work.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
Yep.
it didn't make a difference because everything is on hand. If I
Right.
added a part that was not on hand, let's go to the BOM. Let's add the salt or add the olive oil
Right.
that we were dealing with. Oh, was that the
Oh,
pop-up?
it just asked. Yeah. That was, do you want to update anything that's issued? I think it said.
Yep,
Well, there you go.
that's cute.
We found it.
Now
It
we
only
lost it.
works if you add it, I guess, not if you update it.
That's weird. Okay, fine, whatever.
It's a once in a lifetime opportunity here, apparently.
Okay, but see now we've got an olive oil line for 0.
Yep.
Okay, that's cool. Because that could be our most limiting factor. I'll leave that in there so that we
Mm-hmm.
can see it going on. In
Okay.
fact, I'm going to make a sales order. And that actually should make it negative. Yep, negative 50. We have negative
Oh,
50 of olive oil because we don't have enough. Now
right.
that's not helpful, right?
Right.
So if this calculation here is less than what we need,
Mm-hmm.
then 0. So if this is less than 0, then report it as 0.
Yep.
Otherwise, report it as the same calculation.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
See how verbose I can get with the columns?
Yeah. Jeez.
So
Uh-huh.
that on the downside of SQL, that is what sucks a little bit. But I'll take a little bit more typing in order to make sure that the calculation's right.
Yep.
Okay. So now instead of negative 50, now we have 0.
Okay.
Fantastic. We're handling edge cases here.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So now we know what is the availability per raw good. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So now we need to wrap this again
Oh
as
gosh.
bomb data inventory.
Uh-huh.
Right. We'll go to the top here. Bomb data inventory star. Right.
Uh-huh.
And we're going to do the division. Right.
Okay.
Bomb data inventory dot rm available divided by bomb data inventory dot rm quantity, right?
Uh-huh.
This divided by that.
Right. How many we
1445
have?
divided by 6.
Yep. Okay.
And I'm call this buildable.
Okay. Yep. That makes sense.
Okay. Woo. Does that look familiar? That 88?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now we know what is the most buildable thing. Actually, if we wanted to say what we can build of this, we technically only build 0 because we got none of the olive oil.
Right.
Make sense?
Now that we've added it. Yep.
Now that we've added it, okay. So now what we're going to do is actually flatten this, right, into a single unit because we're if we were dealing with buildable like you could make half a cake if you really wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But businesses typically don't,
Right.
right? So what we're going to do is we're going to use the floor function,
Okay.
which is another singular math function, which
Yep.
will say, get us to the lowest whole number.
Mm-hmm.
That's very helpful.
Yes.
Right? That works really well for customers that have, manufacturing things going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then we're going to wrap this again.
Oh.
We're going to call this buildable bomb. We're going to say part.num. And then we're going to do a minimum, right? What is our most restrictive item? And we're going to say buildable bomb dot rm buildable as quantity from everything below that.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Right? Oh,
Uh-oh.
oops. Forgot. Join part on part dot id equals fg part id. 0.
Oh no.
No.
Can't make any.
Can't make any. Can't make any. Change the bomb.
Get rid of the olive oil.
Get rid of the olive oil. We didn't need it.
Look,
See?
there it is. Bomb is in
I
use.
think
Do you want to update the manufacturer orders with status of entered?
see. I wish they told us that. That's interesting.
There
I'm
it
glad we
is.
went through this example because now we can actually see it.
Yeah, so it's only when you add or remove materials. It's not when you change the quantity.
Interesting. Interesting. I wonder how this.
I
Anyway,
wonder if
well,
that's by design.
what is this by design? Okay, so now we were going to rerun a query. Now we changed our bomb.
Okay.
Oh, we're now to
There's
the
the
88.
88.
There's the 88. And to recap, we're going to be in the build materials. We're going to do the quick build, and there's the 88.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Now this quick build, 88. Well, the thing that sucks is that you can't see a list of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, what did we do earlier? On line 32, we had a filter for just that bomb.
Right.
What happens when we just take it out?
Would it?
Oh, no. I screwed up.
I'm
I was
like,
like,
wait.
group by one. Remember our group by issues earlier?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. So now we have all of our bombs, or things that we
Okay.
build, and their minimum build quantities, and what
Yep.
is, and based on what is the most restrictive thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we could build 88 of 2002s, 832 of 203s, 832 of 204s, none of 205s, etc., etc.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right?
Interesting.
Now, I wrote this kind of all in one line, but usually what I end up doing is I'll tab these things out. So
Right. So each sub query is its own tab in.
tab, and then I go from here to here, tab, and then from here to here, I think here, tab, tab. There we go. So you can kind
Yep.
of start feeling the logical structure visually of
Yep.
what's going on.
I appreciate a tree.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And if I were to just kind of get rid of some of the extra lines, because I was just being not being very economic with my
Well,
lines, you kind of start seeing the structure of what this all looks like
mm-hmm.
and how it all gets put together.
Yeah.
So this gets the bomb structure.
Mm-hmm.
This gets the raw material part available quantity.
Mm-hmm.
Calculates the per raw material buildable quantity. And then finally, this last one finally finds the least buildable amount. I can't type today.
It's Friday.
Per bomb. Or per bomb.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Okay.
So we
Yeah.
have this calculation. In fact, we have like a, if you can believe it, a 116 line SQL statement that does the buildable quantity for a bomb, the buildable quantity for a kit, and then inventory available per part.
Oh wow.
So we use that. We call it the inventory for everything query,
Uh-huh.
and it's very helpful because then you kind of know the inventory of everything,
Yeah.
right? And it's great for e-commerce, our integrations, those kind of projects where
Right.
we're able to say like, okay, well, you build handbags or you build other machinery, and you want to be able to show that you've got the ability to build it because it doesn't take you that long to build it,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Right.
But since you don't want to build them on hand, like you might with Fishbowl,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to want to leave them in their piece component until you're got an order.
Right.
But
Uh,
if you're using the same inventory across a lot of your builds, you could oversell really quickly.
right. This happens to be at this one snapshot per each, bomb for this instance, right? But
Exactly.
if you the salt in that one and you need the salt in one further down, then you're gonna have less
Yeah.
available.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to pick a winner and a loser,
Yeah.
given that situation for sure.
Right. Right. Wow. Okay.
So yeah, you can do a lot of
Interesting.
complex stuff, and it's doing all this complex stuff, and then still only outputting a result of two columns.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of pieces to get down to what seems like a simple answer, but it's not a simple answer.
Yeah, and it's not bad. It's not the end of the world. Is it? And I'm sure there's other ways of calculating this, but I haven't found it where you're not like trying to do this in Excel, or you're not trying to do this in macros. You're not trying to do this in programming. This
Mm-hmm.
was like the way that I could kind of like just force it and tease the SQL database to do what I needed to do in this very logical manner.
Mm-hmm.
Any
Yeah.
questions?
No, I don't think so. I think I follow. You have to like get each piece and build on top of it. Is the best way to kind of describe it to get to the final answer.
Right, right.
Yeah.
You definitely have to build understanding and build trust along the way. Right.
Uh-huh.
It's just like a ladder. The more rings you go up, like you might be okay with like a plastic ladder for just like two or three steps,
Yeah.
but you're probably interested in like a fiberglass or an all metal, ladder if you're gonna go 10 stories.
Right. Yeah, in my head I'm picturing like almost like a house of cards or Lincoln logs, like building, where they have to interlock with each other and one impacts the next. So,
Right. The way I look at it for me is actually like water streams,
yeah,
because there's a original stream, the
right.
bomb table, right? And then we added these other streams of data, bomb item, bomb item twice, part, and
Mm-hmm.
then we did some kind of adapt. We had some kind of like adapter, which created some
Right.
kind of another set of streams,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had more calculation along that stream. So like you might have like a stream of water, and then you might have like little droppers of food coloring along the water, right? As long
Mm-hmm.
as that water is moving, you'll have a red, green, blue, but depending on where the water is going, you'll end up with a different color at the end, but you'll still have like a green, red, and blue, but green and red will give us yellow, I believe,
Right.
and then you'll get black by the end. You know what I mean? So like you've got to kind of recognize that that's kind of what you're dealing with, is like you're coloring your data stream as you're going through your SQL, as you kind of build up the ladder, so to speak, or your stream of information.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, to me, it's data and SQL is just a lot like
Yeah.
flows of water, which I don't know. Like that's I've been doing this for almost 15 years now, so of course I've got weird ideas of this sort of stuff.
It's
Okay.
understandable.
Okay. Where do you want to take this for the next lesson?
Ooh. I think maybe we can use it kind of toward like planning and seeing, um, I have maybe we could look at inventory that's on its way in, right? We're ready to coming in to receive,
Mm-hmm.
and what orders can we fill with that, maybe, or something along those lines.
Yeah, we could probably do like recently received and open sales orders,
Yeah.
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
We could do something like that. Yeah, and some of those things were going to be a bit challenging to do in just a SQL statement,
Right.
but we're going to try.
Yeah.
We're going to try
We
for
can
sure.
at least get some pieces.
We can get some pieces together.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, honestly, I think that's it. We started at what, at 1, and now we're ending at 3.
Yeah.
Did a good shot. I wasn't planning on going this long, but hey, we were going. We were building up the understanding. So
Yeah. We were on a roll.
we're on a roll. So I don't know when we're gonna have the next live stream. We'd like to at least have like a week in between. So at least expect it to not this coming Friday, but the next Friday. And yeah, barring any other fires that we had to deal with clients, help our clients with, will be, yeah, look us out for the next live stream. We might do it at this time. We might do it earlier in the day. Just really depends on what works for our schedule and what we're trying to do. But yeah, thank you for joining. And yeah, Alexa, do you want to say anything to our audience?
Yeah, no, thanks for coming on this adventure with me, guys. And hopefully you're getting as much out of it as I am. So I look forward to keeping this running.
Okay, fantastic. All right, everybody, have a good weekend. Stay safe, and see you guys in the next stream.
Bye, guys.